Hey everyone, we'll be starting in a moment. I'm getting everything set up, so please bear with me as I do so. Okay, so that's up. Close this. Apparently the stream health is excellent, which is nice. I don't know if they added that in, but that's nice. Close these, don't need it anymore. Post it there. Connection seems to be good. Sounds we picked up. I think we're good to go. So, hi everyone. Welcome to another stream of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Roar. Today, we are continuing where we had left off last time, which was in the middle of visiting the Mortician and seeing what she has to say and what else she might know. We are midway through the second investigation for the Crystal Tower death for Mr. Armand. So we're going to see what we can learn, what else is going to come up, if Van Zeeks is going to appear again, deign us with his presence. And yeah, see how much we can get done today. As a heads up, I am not feeling 100% today. I did not sleep last night. I'm having some personal issues, which I won't get into, but I may be a bit down, or I may, have to end early or just finish one part and then we'll have to do it next time. But just as a heads up, if I sound a bit off, that's why. But without further ado, let us switch over to the game and begin today proper, shall we? Do let me know if there's anything wrong, because I did try to put in a new fan onto my computer. I was not able to do so. So if there's any issues, that would be why. The best part of this case. What, the Mortician? Look at it all. Skeleton. Right, sound is being picked up, showing up on there. Refresh restream. Yes. Alright, cool. Let's go. Continue. The forensics laboratory. There she is. Dramatic music. Your findings. So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined from its examination of the scene? The victim, Mr. Odie Asman, who disappeared from the experimentation stage amid an explosion, and the Mr. Asman who appeared moments later partway up the Crystal Tower, were without question one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion. But that can't be right. If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate about how it was carried out. Let's see. If two people who look very similar to each other were involved... I need to remember how to do a voice. They would have made it appear if one single person had switched places, couldn't they? Very true, but sadly in this instance, that was not the case. The man who disappeared and the man who just subsequently reappeared was the same person. The fingerprints at the scene make that quite evident. Ah, fingerprints. They're not yet officially recognized as forensic evidence in the British justice system. Hey, Balarov. But one day they'll be used as an investigative aid as a matter of course. Oh my, but that would mean the instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So, where does that leave us? My team was tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions. Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, and yet the body did move from one place to the other. That hasn't cleared anything up at all. It's made the whole thing even more of a mystery. That was it? Oh, hello. Bird woman. Mama, what is this? Where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? This is a lawyer, dear. Oh. Hello. To meet you, please. To meet you. Yes, I'm a defense lawyer. Ryunosuke now. Mama. Yes. Can I cut this one up? What? No. I've never seen inside an Eastern person before. I want to know what it looks like. Of course you can't. It's a live specimen, as you can very well see. Huh. Boring. I think I just had a near-death experience. Oh dear, Mr. Naruhodo, you're pale as a corpse. Then let's leave before I'm mistaken for one. But wait! So, what are you doing at the moment, Doctor? Keeping a close eye on things so no impertinent Easterners think they can look around my office. But we've already done it. Are you such an impertinent Easterners... Or are there such impertinent Easterners around? How terrible. Yes, you. She doesn't mince her words, Mrs. Arrow. I think perhaps it's time we left. Oh, look at the skeleton. Oh, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen, and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Western cabinet makers really are very skilled, aren't they? Do you have nothing to say about the skeleton inside, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Zato, can't you tell that I'm trying very hard to avoid talking about the terrifying contents of the case? It's how I cope! I'll be sure to remember that from now on. Bird. That looks like an owl and a crow up there. I said crop up. I know, and they haven't even twitched since we came in here. Well, no, they wouldn't have. They're taxidermy mounts, Mr. Naruhodo. I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open. Yes, I think perhaps you were wise to put something like your Darumudar on display in the office instead. See if there's anything new that came up. No? Alright, well, bye! I guess we could go to Madame Two-Spells? Or Two-Spell? I'm so normal about this case? I'm sure you are. 23rd of October, Madame Two-Spells. Oh my, no wonder it's called the House of Horrors. I'd like to turn on my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery. Being scared makes you crave sweets. I can understand that. I was looking forward to reunion after 6 months away, but there's no sign of Mr. Sholmes anywhere. That's strange. He should be here investigating the abduction of the waxwork. Oh well, I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. Ah yes, the heavy curtains in the middle of the House of Horrors. Whatever's on the other side of them, you just know it's going to be terrifying, don't you? But the sign says it's the Madame Two-Spells special exhibit. It seems you have to pay extra to go inside. I know, can you believe that? Pay more money? As if we haven't been scared enough already. It's not my doing, Mr. Naruhodo. That's what they want you to think. It's all you're doing all along. Oh, it's horrifying seeing a murderer caught in the grisly act. I know, and in case you were wondering, it's the one with the big knife that's supposed to be the killer. I don't think anybody would be in any doubt about that, surely. And did you know that according to the description, the bathtub at the back has no particular significance? What, really? I would have thought it was meant to show that the killer also worked in bathhouse peddling criminal wares. Aha! We have a new theory. The guy's gone. That old policeman isn't here now, obviously. I still can't believe he just happened to be on the jury, though. I'd understood that London was a population of 6 million people, and yet you do seem to run into the same people disproportionately often, don't you? Yes, unfortunately. This one's postures reveals his weakness. Sorry? The killer's stance leaves him wide open to attack. I'm quite sure I could see him off. With a Susato takedown, then a Susato squash, and finally a Susato smash! Right. And if that doesn't render the culprit unconscious, a Susato slam should finish him. A Susato slam? Oh, I'm sorry. It's rather hard to explain. Leave yourself open slightly and I'll demonstrate. Absolutely not. Oh, ladder. Ah, there's a stepladder there, look. Oh, yes, a stepladder. I think perhaps we should let the proprietors know that someone's left it out. Or the stepladder, I mean. Is something wrong? Why do I feel as though I just managed to sidestep an argument? Hey, achievement! The top rung. For having run your hands through every something. It disappeared before I could finish reading it. Good job, everyone. Stream over. We got our achievement. Susato beaten to death. Right, to the experimentation stage. Foot of the Crystal Tower. Doggy! I had no idea there were so many people in the world. I know what you mean. It's really packed here today. It feels as though it's taken us 2 hours just to make our way through the crowds to this point. Has it? I shut my brain down, so I didn't really notice, to be honest. Gosh, I do wish I had your absence of mind sometimes, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, there you are. I had a feeling you lot would show your mugs up before long. Oh, it's you. Oh, Inspector Gregson. I see you're hard at work as usual. Warm greetings to you. I do hope you've been keeping well since last we met. What's with all this ceremony? We just saw each other in court this morning. Not you, Sunshine. The gentlewoman so loyally at your side. Oh. Why, thank you, Inspector. How good of you to notice. He might be a bit rough around the edges, but he's still a proper English gentleman at heart, I suppose. As you probably guessed, we're hoping to investigate the scene some more. Right, well, that young trainee's domain. Oi, get over here, Gina! She seems to be busy playing with a puppy, probably giving it a traditional East End training. Gina? She's a police officer now. Amazing, isn't it? She's a good kid, actually. Heart's in the right place, anyway. She's got the detection bug, if you ask me. Yep, I think she'll follow in my footsteps nicely. What do you mean? I've been transferred. It's time for me to say toodaloo to London. Oh, no, really? That's a bit sudden, isn't it? I had no idea. Where are you going to be posted, then? We'll come to see how you're getting on along. Not likely, but you're welcome to try. If you don't mind a trip to France, that is. Being moved to France? I'll be working at the Paris Police Prefecture. Should be right up my alley. But France is an entirely different country. I don't understand. Why would you be sent there? That's the way the adult world works, Sunshine. I don't go poking your nose in where it's not wanted. I'm intending to take the kid with me when I go. What? You're taking Gina to Paris? Well, I can't leave her here in London. Who knows what will become of her? I suppose he's worried she slipped back into slipping hands into pockets and purses. I don't think he's worried about her pickpocketing, Mr. Naruhodo. I think he's worried about the Reaper. Oh, of course. So that's playing on Inspector Gregson's mind too, is it? Anyway, I haven't mentioned any of this to Gina, so don't go blabbing, you hear me? No, of course not. I've got to keep that diving diva safe around sound, until all this is over, at least. Oi, did you just call me a bloomin' diving diva again? So you heard that, did you? Right, well, any questions about the scene, you can put them to capable Detective Diva here. Alright, you heard the boss. Inspector Lestrade's in charge here now. I suppose I'd better keep my word and not mention anything about Paris. So, Gina, you got a new dog, have you? Doggy! Isn't he great? Toby's name. Oh, how delightful. He's absolutely adorable. Yes, the dog does seem lovely. But it's not the so lovely Inspector Gregson that's playing on my mind, to be honest. Look at her, pal. All of this with the foresight for the rest of the game is triggering so many emotions. Oh, okay. Who is this diva? Gina, we were actually hoping that we could investigate the scene again. Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like. Oh, that's alright, is it? I'm gonna be playing with my new friend here. Yes, Toby. Woof woof. I don't need to do the noises, I just wanted to respond. And the machine that exploded must be at the top of those stairs, I presume. I haven't actually seen it yet, so if you don't mind... Sorry, you can't go up there, Suze. Oh. It's like I told Otto yesterday. Even I ain't allowed up there near that wreck. What's it called again? The reason we ain't supposed to touch it? The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. Is that what you were thinking of? That's the one. That's why only them lot are allowed to investigate it. What are they called again? The Forensic or something? The Forensic Investigation Team? Is that what you were thinking of? That's the thing, Rafatron. She's always been the killer. And that's the one, yeah. But isn't it the case that the Special Dispensation Act has been lifted? I think so. I don't really get it, to be truthful with you. You're supposed to go to permission for some bigwig or other, as far as I know. What was his name again? Lord Strange something? I'm not sure that's quite right, Gina. I think you mean Lord Strongheart, perhaps? Oh, that's the one, yeah. Apparently he's always watching the time or something. Actually, we've just recently been to see Lord Strongheart. Eh? You what? You met him? Last time the boss was called to go and see him, he waited for 3 hours at the Cove's office and came back snivelling. Tragic. Well, Lord Strongheart has given us permission to examine the scene as long as we touch nothing. Oh yeah? Honestly. Alright then, go ahead. But if it turns out you're lying, it'll be the boss who gets it. He'll never eat another chip again in his life. So you're still saying all this above board, eh? I'm sure everything will be fine. That really would be tragic. Alright then, them's the stairs. Off you go. Oh, thank you, Gina. We got more stuff to talk about, like today's trial. It was great, weren't I? Or weren't it? I had a right laugh, and it was a new one on me, that. Hey, Swordmaster, welcome. Good to see you. How you been? You know, being in court and not spending the whole time worrying I'm about to be found out. You did keep an awful lot of secrets in all your previous court appearances, didn't you? Yeah, and Otto's made things hard on me every single time and all. Just doing my job, Gina. But watching something else getting in the neck is a lot of fun, actually. It was amazing when you showed that dodgy professor's dodgy experiment was a total fix. The dodgy professor, as you put it, Gina, is Mr. Naruhodo's client. Yeah, I'm starting to wish he wasn't, though. It's the boss I feel sorry for, sent off to do the impossible. What do you mean? Me? I could be doing better, to be honest. Could be doing better. He's supposed to arrest the other cove, ain't he? And it's time for tomorrow and all. You know, the dodgy engineer. What's his name again? You can't remember anyone's name for the life of you. Mr. Drebber, you mean? Enoch Drebber? Oh, that's the one, yeah. So the police are looking for this mysterious man with the black monocle. I guess they would be. He's putting too much on the boss, if you ask me. He says it's giving him a gut ache. Oh dear, but I do wonder if that's actually from all the fried food. I thought the next question was going to be the fried food. So Scotland Yard are trying to track down Mr. Enoch Drebber. I wonder if they had any luck. He's really funny looking, got two eyes that don't match. Stole a glimpse of a picture of him earlier. I mean, I didn't actually pinch it or nothing. The old devil's got it. Sorry? Who? You know, the Scallon Repo that's always glugging down glass of that blood-red plonk. Ah, Lord Van Zeeks. Wrong voice, but yes, it's Susanna that says that. He always had it in for me, that cove. Don't know what he's always scowling about, mind. Probably would have been a pretty good boss as it goes. She'd rather be the Reaper's apprentice than a detective's trainee. The way I see it, is the choice is between a chip-guzzling detective and a chalice-glugging demigod. You're equally badly off with both. I suppose you're right. I hadn't thought of it like that. Glad we put that one to bed. Anyway, the point is everyone at the yard is dead set on finding the fishy engineer. But there don't seem to be any clues going on, so they're stuck. There's nothing that can lead us to Dr. Drebber to Drebber at all? Toby the dog! Where did you find that little mutt then, Gina? Oi! Don't be some flaming rude, Otto! Slight overreaction, don't you think? He ain't no mutt, alright? Toby's... how did they put it? Oh yeah, a bona fide detective. Sorry? I've given him a proper title and everything. It's Chief Inspector Toby to you. More senior than Inspector Gregson, is he? Ooh, so he's a police dog, is he? The police recruit dogs now? I've heard that they're already being used officially in Germany as part of their city policing. They're used for chasing criminals and such, like. They have a wonderful sense of smell, after all. I have a fairly good sense of smell myself, as it happens. I can tell undergarments that have been freshly laundered for undergarments that haven't. That's nothing compared to this little feta, Otto. Oh, really? According to what the boss said, once Toby has got a good whiff of your drawers, it's like using Toby as a gun there. He could chase the scent out to the other side of the world. What? To the other side of the world? You mean he could swim? Mr. Naruhodo, I think you may have missed the point. By rather a wide margin. I just can't believe this little dog has such an incredible skill. I'm telling you, Otto, there's got to be more and more dogs doing their bit for the police in future. Yeah. Yes, I agree. Right, one of these days they're going to be barking orders at us lot and not the other way around. Oh dear. Sorry, Gina, I don't think I'd agree with you with your vision quite that much. Oh well, anyway, whatever you think about that, Toby here is Britain's first police dog. I found him down the East End the other day. Someone had just chucked him out on the street. There you go. I knew she lifted him from somewhere. Oh, Gina, you're such a kind-hearted soul, aren't you? To children and to animals. Alright, let me show you some things. Gina, would you take a look at... Oh, where'd it go? Looking for this, Otto? When did she do that? I wonder if you got anything else you want to show me, eh? What you reckon? Give that back first, please. Gina, nope. What about this picture? What about this picture? Okay, what about this? You're just stealing all of my things, Gina. Fine, screwdriver. Gina, have a look at this photograph. It's amazing looking down on everything from up there. I love high places, me. Really? If I'm honest, I can't stand looking down at the ground when I'm high up. I always have to look up. Shame. I wanted to show you what it's like, but it's not going. There's no point now. Why not? If all you're going to do is look up at the sky, I ain't going to be able to look down on you. With you. Sorry. I mean, I don't look down on you or nothing. If you don't want it, do it. It's your choice. I didn't think I'd ever get up in a balloon, to be honest. Not in the whole life. Not in my whole life. But now I'm starting to think I might like to. About this, Gina. Yeah, I'm still learning my letters at the moment. Only I know A to E, so it ain't too much bleeding trouble. Actually, Gina, it's the back of the card that's important. Yeah? How come? There's just the dirty old smudge on the back, that's all. It turns out this is a very high-quality French machine oil. It has a very particular scent, apparently. You don't say. Let's have a whiff, then. You sure I don't smell nothing? No, we didn't mean that you should smell it. Oh, right. You mean Toby. His sense of smell is so good he can track people over the oceans, can't he? Professor Hairbrain informs us that the oil is unique to Mr. Drebber's workshop. Go, Toby, go! Sniff, sniff, sniff. Sniff, sniff. I think he's picked up a scent. So you mean if he follows the scent on this oil, Toby could lead us to that dodgy Co's workshop? That's right, exactly what we were hoping. Alright then, we'll give it a go. I'll just borrow that. Wait, when did you... What's the pickpocket? If I can lend everyone to that Drebber's, or lead everyone to that Drebber's workshop, I'll be the boss's boss before next week. Oh yes, Gina. I'm sure you'll be promoted. Poor Gregson. Right then, Otto, leave it to me. Sorry? We're going to go get going after that dodgy engineer cove right at this minute. Oh, but hang on. Someone's supposed to be on guard duty here all the time. I'm afraid we can't help. We need to get on with our investigation as well, Gina. Oh, right. Oh, well, never mind. It ain't going to be me what gets in the neck. It'll be the boss. Poor Gregson. Again. Gregson is just having a rough time today. Alright, Toby, got that oil scent, have you? Come on then, boy. See you later. I do hope the scent of that oil leads them to that swindler's workshop. Yes, I hope so too. Ideally before the dog swims across the channel to France. As did not click there. What a shame that the symbolic landmark of the Great Exhibition has been damaged like that. Yes, unfortunately, the birdcage crashed in the most improminent position possible. It's the gods giving us a warning, if you ask me. Man must travel under his own steam and not cut corners with instantaneous kinesis. But imagine what might have happened if the birdcage had landed on a slightly different location. The death toll could have been far worse. So I think perhaps it was a blessing in disguise. Well, the gods are benevolent, obviously. I did say it was just a warning. Man must have travelled under his own steam, or next time birdcage will run down on all of you. She would have gone immediately if you did a different order. Oh, okay. It's a good thing I asked everything then. Your faith is much stronger than I realised. Well, how do you think I passed the entrance exam for Yuma University? It wasn't by studying alone. The Crystal Tower. I can't believe I'm seeing it in such close proximity with my own eyes. You've really been looking forward to the Great Exhibition, haven't you, Mr. Zato? Oh yes, when I found out that I had to return to Japan, I'm afraid I cursed my luck. But here you are back in London, gazing up at the magnificent tower. I know. Perhaps I was wrong to curse my luck so harshly. Balloons again. Oh look, a flying balloon. I've never seen one in the flesh before. I can't understand how they can fly, and so high up as well. Oh, but think of the view, Mr. Naruhodo. You must be able to see it for miles and miles. And I do think of it, and it terrifies me. I mean, it would be a certain death if you fell out. I'm sure they're perfectly safe. After all, they've been invented by some of the brightest minds in the world. Well, let's not forget that we know at least one who has exploded. I'm sure there are other ways to fly. Back down we go. No, down. What? I didn't click! Down. There we go. Here's the scorch on the grounds that you mentioned. Oh, yes, and here's what's left of the green balloon's envelope. All clear evidence of the balloon that exploded on the day of the incident. Poor Professor Hairbrain. I do feel sorry for him that his dreams would have been shattered like this. Someone's well and truly burst his bubble, as it were. Ouch. I'm a bad person. But the stage up there is where the experiment was set up. It's very high, isn't it? About 30 feet, I believe. Or 9 meters if you prefer. The concept of a roller coaster would give Naruhodo a heart attack? Yeah, probably. Craning your neck to see up to the start. It starts to hurt after a while, doesn't it? Yes, we need to get up there and look around properly. Although, if I'm honest, climbing all those stairs makes my chest hurt. Oh dear. I think perhaps you should exercise more, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, up we go. These stairs lead up to the experimentation stage. Let's go and see what we can find out. Oh my, so this is the machine. And that was used to deceive people into thinking instantaneous kinesis had taken place. Yeah, that's right. Or rather, it was the machine. It's a little worse for wear at the moment. What an extraordinary lengths Professor Hairbrain went to in order to obtain the research grant. No, the professor was tricked as well. He didn't know anything about it. Yes, of course. It is amazing, though, isn't it? The scale of the whole affair is so very British. You're right about that. You'd never see such a grand deception in Japan, that's for sure. Oh, look. Is that... Oh, hi. Lord Van Zeeks. Weird seeing him out in the open. So I think we're more or less done here, aren't we? Shall we, Mrs. Zado? Already? He is the Reaper, remember? We do well to keep our distance, I think. But we have permission to be here. From the top. We're perfectly well allowed to investigate this machine, as long as we don't touch anything. From the top? Do you mean Lord Strongheart? Exactly. So here we can stay here and stare at this wreckage for as long as we like. She could have been at the center of the explosion here and it wouldn't have bent her steel will. Hi, Van Zeeks. How you doing? Let me have a look around first. Oh, God, I can't stop yawning. All because I didn't sleep last night. What a terrible explosion it must have been. Even the steel girders have buckled and twisted in the blast. And what they call the birdcage was right in the middle of it all, just here. But look, Mr. Naruhodo, the metal grill on the floor. Looks as though it's designed to open. It does? Doesn't it? If the floor had opened at the precise moment the explosion occurred, the birdcage could have dropped through and disappeared from sight. I don't think there's any doubt that there was a very elaborate hoax, is there? Oh, isn't it exhilarating? All this different architecture from all corners of the world. It does make you feel a bit like an explorer, doesn't it? His bats wanted to ride the Ferris wheel. I know it's all subjective, but the onion-shaped roofs have rather caught my attention personally. It is very subjective, isn't it? A Japanese building with a wooden paper construction have excellent ventilation. And I've realized that British buildings being made from brick and stone are very strong and long-lasting. The more you know about how things are done in other countries, the more you understand your own, I feel. Oh yes, I do agree with you there. But I can't help wondering what an onion does for the roof of a building. I mean, I suppose it's playing on my mind because I don't like the taste of onions. You really ought to let your tastes in your vegetables dictate the taste of the roofs, Mr. Naruhodo. You can't tell me what to do. This wasn't here yesterday. Oh, really? But if I'm not mistaken, it's the cage in which the victim was standing before he was apparently beamed through the air. Oh, that's right, the birdcage. According to what Professor Hairbrain said in court, it's made of wood. Doesn't look like it's all made of wood. This part looks like it's made of metal. Or more precisely, Japanese cypress, I think. And despite having been in an explosion and then falling from a great height, it's relatively unharmed. What wonderful, durable construction, wouldn't you say, Mr. Naruhodo? I understood that forensic investigation team had taken it away yesterday to examine it. I suppose they must have brought it back here when they finished their work. But sadly, not with the body inside it. What, would you want that? I want to see a dead body, Mr. Naruhodo. You make it allowed. No, that's right. I know we were given strict instructions not to touch anything, but still. This is too important a piece of evidence to overlook. We might need it for the trial. I'll just stuff it into pocket. Birdcage from the machine has been entered in the court record. I hear that a ride on the Ferris wheel is a favourite romantic outing among young London couples. I think the romance would be slightly spoilt by the abject terror, personally, but then I'm not a Londoner. Are you a little scared of heights, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, that was weird. I had like a weird, tired moment there. Felt like I was about to fall asleep. It's not that I'm scared, not at all. It's just that staying on the ground seems so much safer. Well, perhaps I shall have to ask Iris and Mr. Sholmes to accompany me on that in that case. His apprentice wanted to have fun, yeah. When you put it like that, part of me does want to give it a try. Oh dear, it's so complicated for you, isn't it? Look at that horn-shaped transmitting device. Isn't it amazing? That's exactly what I thought when I first saw it. It makes you think, doesn't it? If only it had just been a normal horn, none of this would have happened. That's almost exactly what I thought as well. I bet I can predict what you're going to say next in that case. You're about to say, nothing ever goes to plan, aren't you? Oh, no, I would never say something like that. Tough luck, Ryunosuke. Or Naruhodo. However much I look at them, I just can't come to terms with those Tamari handballs floating in the sky. You've been glaring at them constantly since we came up here. Sorry, the feeling of wanting to ride in one and wanting to never set foot in one are fighting it out inside of me. But if you don't look where you're walking, you might fall from the stage. I don't think I'd notice. That's how fiercely this battle inside me is raging. I think you should make peace with riding in one, Mr. Naruhodo. It really would be much safer that way. There we go. And let's look at Lord Van Zeeks. How you doing? Least approachable man in the world winner. 10 years in a row. Be strong, Mr. Naruhodo. Your country and your assistant stand firm behind you. Lord Van Zeeks? What? Well... Beautiful weather we're having, isn't it? I thought I was making it quite clear that I did not want to be disturbed. Apparently you Nipponese are unequipped to read their signs. Oh, I read them. I just ignored them. So what are you doing here? Entry to this area is prohibited. Well, the thing is... Lord Chief Justice Strongheart granted us permission to investigate, on the condition that we didn't disturb anything. And yet you've managed to disturb me. Never mind. State your business then. Sorry if I'm not doing his voice flight properly today. My throat is very dry today for some reason, even though I'm drinking and everything. Come to think of it, there are quite a few things I'd like to ask Lord Van Zeeks about. Not least of which is that awful case, even though it's nothing to do with this. Ask away, Mr. Naruhodo. You won't know unless you try. Wow, 6 viewers. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Enjoy. So, Clint was the name of your older brother, I understand, Lord Van Zeeks? You Nipponese. I always have to be on guard whenever you're around. So, you've been investigating me, have you? Oh, no, it's not like that. Well, alright, it is a bit like that. My older brother was also a prosecutor. He was the pride of the Van Zeeks family. But tragically, a vicious killer took him from us. The professor, you mean? Is something funny? That's the extent of what you've discovered, is it? I shouldn't be surprised. Sorry? There's more to it then? Lackluster work is very much your trademark, isn't it? Ugh, you're too kind. Are you going to tar all Nipponese with the same brush next? So tell me, what's your interest in the historic incident? As it happens, Lord Van Zeeks, there's a rather curious case that's sometimes come to our attention. Are you aware of the Madame Tuspel's Museum of Waxworks by any chance? I am, naturally. I believe that since last month I featured in one of the displays there for public scorn. Of course the infamous Reaper of the Bailey would have been to be exhibited, wouldn't he? Well, a particular waxwork has been stolen from the place and held for ransom. A particular waxwork, which... Wait, you mean... Yes, it's the professor. Mr. Sholmes is investigating the case as we speak. I was unaware of that. He's turned as white as a sheet. Why is he so, like, hit by that? It's a waxwork, unless the waxwork is actually the body. Are the police trying to locate the engineer, Mr. Drebber, already? Surely that goes without saying. We're very keen to see him found as well. The trouble is, we don't have much to go on aside from the description of the man we heard in court earlier. Which, according to Professor Hairbrain, was of a tall, thin gentleman whose straight white hair wears a black monocle. So I was just wondering. I mean, I realize it's probably not possible, but we'd very much appreciate any more clues you can give us. Wow, Susanoo-san really knows how to take the bull by the horns. She's been gone for too long. She wants to get back in the saddle. Fine, why not? I have a photograph of the man here from an investigation 10 years ago. Wow, a real gentleman. Does that say Gold's Town? Although it appears he already had that black monocle at the time. I'll put you over 13 one day. That'd be cool. I'd appreciate that. More people means more. More algorithm and more people seeing my stuff. What? Oh, no, nothing. I was just surprised that you shared that with us. We all need the man's testimony in court tomorrow, which means we have to do everything we possibly can to track him down in the short time available. So why shouldn't I show you the photograph? What is it about Lord Van Zeeks? Sometimes I just can't work him out at all. Photograph as Drebber has been entered into the court record. Woo! It's hard to make out, but he appears to be wearing a monocle with black glass. It's you again. Ah, the file I requested for the trial tomorrow. Thank you. Are you all right? Who is this man, Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Van Zeek's apprentice, apparently. So I'm not the only one. Susanoo-san can see it too. Lord Van Zeeks, may we speak with your apprentice for a moment? With him? Why? The Scrunkly! The other Scrunkly! Kazuma-sama. Kazuma. I don't believe it. Your posture, your presence. It can only be. It's you, isn't it, Kazuma-sama? I felt something strange the very first time I encountered this cloaked figure. Imagine it's not him, it's his brother, Steve! As if I knew him somehow. Can it really be you, Kazuma? Wait! Too late. What's going on here? Oh boy, more twists! Which I kinda saw. What is your interest in my apprentice exactly? You act as if you know the man or something. Well, since when has he been in your care? I don't recall you ever having an apprentice before I left Britain 6 months ago. Lord Stronghard introduced him to me about 3 months ago now, with instructions to mentor him as a prosecutor. But he didn't tell you why, did he? The man appears to be suffering from amnesia. He's forgotten every last detail about himself. He has amnesia? Tomorrow he will appear in court at my side. Of course he will. As your own assistant. What? He's to serve as my judicial assistant, Lord Strongheart's law orders. He'll be in court with us. Now then, unless I'm much mistaken, I believe this conversation has run its course. Oh, yes, thank you. Of course he's got amnesia. He hit his head on, like, the freaking, what was it, the table? It was a while ago, but it was something hard. Plus, we thought he was dead, so I definitely saw a reaction there. When Susanna called out like that, it really seemed to hit a nerve. When she called out Kazuma-sama. The end. You'd already met that masked man, hadn't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, yesterday, in fact. At Lord Van Zeek's office. I see. And if Kazuma-sama really is still alive, it means that Mr. Sholmes lied to us. I know. Gonna need to speak to him about that. Why would he hide it? You're going to have to leave now. The forensic investigation team are due to arrive shortly. If they find you here, it will cause problems. What sort of problems? Foreign affairs problems. Well, we could do without that. Alright, we'll be on our way. Let's go, Mrs. Zato. Of course. And then we get attacked by a cloaked figure. The lack of oxygen to the brain would cause severe brain damage and memory loss. Yeah, true. The bedpost, that was it. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we've done all the investigating we can here for now. If we could just determine the whereabouts of Mr. Drebber. I'm sure Gina and little Toby won't let us down. And now then, do you think we ought to try to speak to Mr. Sholmes at this point? We have things to discuss, and I'm dying to meet him again after all these months. Yes, it is quite possible he might know something useful. You're right. We ought to find him at Madame Tuspel's. He's supposed to be working there as a temporary waxwork exhibit. Yes, Iris told me all about the latest unusual 10 venture. We went there already. You know what it is. You've been there. He wasn't there, but now he will be. All right, let's have a look at this. Oh, whoops. Ooh. Look here, Mrs. Zato. Oh, yes, the wood's cracked and broken a little. I suppose it's just because it fell from such a height. Yes, from the height at which the balloon was flying, it's down to the crystal tower below. Susanna would just kill the cloak figure. Like, it's like, prepare for your life to end. No, prepare for you to end. What? 1,000 Susato punches and takedowns. Special style. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. And leaving the man inside tragically dead. Oh, that's it? There's not much else here. I can't open it. I already looked at this. Alright, to Madame Tuspel's, to my favourite girl. Or best girl. Or one of them anyway, there's a lot of them. I get the feeling that Iris was holding that kick in for years. Yeah. Here we are again at the House of Horrors. I'm afraid I haven't gotten used to the place yet. I'd still like to turn on my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery, of course. Susanna-san really is after something sweet today, isn't she? Eat! She just makes a little eek, not a huge scream. What's the matter? Oh, look, Mr. Naruhodo, look at that waxwork. If I'm quite sure it wasn't there before. It looks exactly like Mr. Sholmes, down to the very last detail. Aha! Oh, what is it? Oh, sorry. I think you'll find that's the temporary waxwork himself. Hey! Ah, the friend of the detective employee. Or dedicated employee. Oh, yes. Hello again. It's Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I must say, I'm quite spellbound by the great detective. He is a marvel. My precious waxwork is already back where it belongs. You don't mean... But yes, the mystery is solved already. Wow, Mr. Sholmes can really engage his brain when he is hungry for enough. So as you can see, he has returned to his, habitual duties. Yes. His habitual duties? Alors, do not disturb her. Poor Susanna-san, she looks very perplexed. Will we get to see it back there now? Come on, Mr. Sholmes. We really do need to speak Mr. Sholmes, and I'm longing to say hello again. But where is he? Looks like he's about ready to fight her. I think you might find that he's quite nearby, actually. Oh, what do you... Indeed, my dear fellow, it is I. The world-famous great detective and waxwork Herlock Sholmes. Oh, you killed her. Susanna-san! Susanna-san! How could you do this, Sholmes? My most humble apologies. The fact that I have to do like an upbeat sort of guy when I'm kind of like down at the moment or tired, it's weird. It's such the juxtaposition. I thought I'd died and gone to the eternal paradise for a moment via London. My dear madam, allow me to make amends by offering you a tasty free deduction at some point. As long as it's not of questionable street food quality. I don't understand. Why are you working as a waxwork here, Mr. Sholmes? Merely a secret identity, you understand, though the case is largely solved now. Largely solved? We're talking about the waxwork abduction, I presume? Indeed, we are, my good fellow. As I predicted, it was so easy as proverbial pie. Though I confess, I am yet to partake of pie, proverbial or otherwise, or any food as so far as for to that matter. I just had a thought, what if there were two of them because the other one was a waxwork for the whole murder thing? And they dressed him up and made it look like he died and then swapped him in for the real one or something. Though I confess, I've yet to partake of pie, proverbial or otherwise, or any food so far today for that matter. Give him a waxwork pie. And that stomach rumble echoed around the whole museum. So, how did you manage to solve it so quickly? Ah, well, do remember I said it was largely solved. Anyway, I simply negotiated with the culprit. Are you familiar with the so-called telephone? Oh yes, it's the most modern invention allowing you to hold conversations with people far away. In Japan, only the imperial capital and a handful of other cities are connected as yet. This morning, a telephone call was received here from the perpetrator of the abduction. As such, I was able to negotiate terms, and in the end, the waxwork was returned. That's amazing. Just between you and I, it would appear the culprit had always intended to return the stolen waxwork in any event. Oh, but I thought whoever was responsible had demanded a ransom, no? Yes, I think perhaps. The ransom demand was necessary to avoid unwanted suspicion regarding the true motive. But does that not mean your negotiating was entirely unnecessary? Don't put down his work, he can do it. A fact that I must ask you to keep from Madame Tuspel's at all costs. A hungry young Iris awaits my return to Baker Street after all. Poor Iris. Everyone's getting a poor thing. It's like, poor Gregson, poor Iris, but poor me. And now then, I do sense that I have some business with this great waxwork. Or that you have some stuff. Oh, whoops. I meant to converse. We're in the process of trying to track somebody down. Oh? Yes, a man by the name of Enoch Drebber. He's the swindler who duped Professor Harebrain and the engineer who built the kinesis machine. A swindler and an engineer? Quite the modern man. He also seems to be a conjurer of sorts too, with an considerable knowledge of stage magic. We really need to locate him before the trial resumes tomorrow morning. But we have so few clues to go on, that's the trouble. Do you have any good ideas? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to have good ideas before one has data. If I knew something of the man's appearance, at least I may be in a better position to help. Yes, Drebber's appearance. Fortunately for you, however, I presently have little to occupy myself with, and little to fill my stomach. As soon as you find any clue, no matter how small, I should gladly give you my thoughts. Okay. Mr. Sholmes, did you lie to us? My dear Mr. Naruhodo, stay that piercing stare. What is this about? Last winter, when we were first on our way to Britain after aboard the steamship, your words were very clear. So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder. You told us that was the murder as you examined Miss Kazuma-sama's body. Indeed, and wherein lies the problem? We met him earlier today, the victim, Kazuma Asogi. You're quite sure? He was wearing some sort of mask and was apparently suffering from amnesia. But yes, I'm quite sure it was Kazuma-sama. You must have known at the time, Mr. Sholmes, that he wasn't actually dead. Well, I can only assume I was swept up in the murderous atmosphere of the moment. But the fellow wasn't dead at all. Priceless. I don't suppose that performance would pass muster, would it, Mr. Naruhodo? I could believe that the crewman present at the time made a mistake, but not you, Mr. Sholmes. I will now tell you something of the first importance of my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that. Please, Mr. Sholmes. Tomorrow in court, you will find yourself on the threshold of a very great mystery. For now, I'm afraid that is all I can say. Damn, man! Tell me more! Give me something to work with. Alright, well, here's your picture. Mr. Sholmes, would you cast your eyes over this photographic print? It's of Mr. Enoch Drebber, the face of the engineer we seek. Well, all Englishmen look broadly the same, of course. So looking at the photograph won't be particularly instructive. Are you all right, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, forgive me. Very interesting, this. Very interesting indeed. What's wrong, Mr. Sholmes? You've turned quite pale all of a sudden. I have a suggestion, Mr. Naruhodo. Would you indulge me? Oh, well, what is it? As I explained to you when you arrived, the missing waxwork has been returned. And I personally reinstalled it into the exhibit from which it was taken, behind those thick curtains. Oh, yes, the Professor exhibit, isn't it? The guy's gone! I just noticed the man here's gone. Would you like to see it for a mere 5 shillings? That's a special one-time only price, you understand? What? The opportunity won't come again, I might add. Would you like to see the fruits of my labour? Oh, well, we do have rather pressing investigation to carry out. Perhaps we could postpone. The price is very reasonable, 5 shillings. I think you'll find it's well worth it. Are you being quite serious, Mr. Sholmes? Surely you need only look at my expression to ascertain it's of this seriousness or silliness. I can never tell with you, that's the point. Very well, it couldn't hurt. Here's your 5 shillings. Gratefully received. So, the special exhibit awaits behind the curtain. I invite you to peruse it at your leisure. Well, the money's been spent, so let's go to see the special exhibit. Whee! Through those heavy curtains at last. And now he's back again. $5 we've had to pay. Doesn't seem right somehow that Mr. Sholmes slipped the money into his own pocket, does it? No. Ah, we could ask Gina to retrieve it for us, using her special skills. Pickpocketing police officers and diddling detectives. Is this what makes Britain great? Not to mention the demigod prosecutors taking the law into their own hands or chip-loving inspectors. Inspector Gregson comes off rather well in that list, I think. "23rd of October, Madame Tuspel's special exhibit." Oh wow, we get to it's an entire new area. Oh god. He hasn't got ahead. Oh dear, I felt a shiver under my spine as soon as we walked in here. Miss Susanna, I say we turn on the heels and go straight home. For a really big confectionery. We certainly can't do that. We've paid 5 shillings already. True. Actually, now that I'm looking a little more closely, we've paid good money to see an exhibit that's clearly incomplete. The nerve of the great diddling detective is far more terrifying than anything else in this place. And this must be what Mr. Sholmes meant when he said the case was largely solved. Be that as it may, Mr. Sholmes heavily implied there'd be a clue about the engineer here, didn't he? But where? Since we paid 5 shillings, let's do 5 shillings worth of investigation, shall we? Yes, we will get what we paid for. Is that fear or frustration that's making Susanoo-san's voice tremble? Let me just see how long we've been streaming for. An hour? Wow. I'm more tired than I thought. This must be the killer, the fiend known as the Professor. Yes, I think so. According to what Madame Tuspel said, he killed 5 victims, all of noble or royal blood. The waxwork is so lifelike, isn't it? Like all the models in this place. I know, it looks like I could start moving at any moment, doesn't it? If only it had a head. I have a head. That is. Perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. So this is the condemned man. Yes, the so-called professor. Then perhaps his head was chopped off by a guillotine? But unable to find peace, he emerged from his grave as a headless ghost. Do we have to entertain such terrifying ideas, Mr. Sano? Anyway, I'm sure the model had a head once. There's a metal fitting for it, see? Then perhaps Mr. Sholmes absent-mindedly forgot to reattach it. That's an extremely absent-minded detective you're describing, isn't it? Or perhaps the thief absent-mindedly forgot to include the head when he or she returned it to the museum. And that would be an extremely absent-minded thief. Could there have been some reason why only the head wasn't returned? Sorry, I just had to check my messages. Well, whatever the reason, it means we don't know what the face of the infamous professor looked like, do we? Oh. There's something caught inside the convict's jacket there. It looks like a piece of broken glass, and quite a big piece too. It's very thick, isn't it? About 5 meters thicker than normal window glazing, I'd say. Where could such a thick piece of glass have come from, I wonder? I suppose it must have been made thick to increase its strength. But why? Well, perhaps because the glass had to span a particularly wide area, such as the building, for example. Ah, well, we've seen a large glass building recently, haven't we? And some of the glass was broken, too. You don't mean... Exactly, the Crystal Tower at the Great Exhibition. But why would glass from the Crystal Tower be lodged inside the waxwork's jacket? It makes you think, doesn't it? Piece of broken glass has been entered into the court record. Woo! Earlier in court, we established that the kinesis experiment was a trick. And now we discovered this fragment of glass here in this waxwork. Is it just a coincidence? I don't see anything else around here that could be something to look at. Except for this. This part of the exhibit is just as disturbing as the rest. It looks so real. It seems to be a young man in a white overcoat. And he has a large shovel in his hands too. Look. Perhaps we should investigate him a little more in detail. Why does this cane look familiar? What a large shovel. He's holding it rather ominously, isn't he? What on earth was the man doing with a shovel in a graveyard in the middle of the night? Mr. Zato? Yes? That's a spade, isn't it? No, it's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. We've been through this, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a shovel. No. Although, we haven't considered trowels. We've all allowed ourselves to be distracted, I feel. Perhaps we should concentrate on what the man was doing with the implement. So we're gonna bury the hatchet. You're right, though. What was the man doing in the graveyard in the first place? That's the real question. What's this here? Well, this would appear to be a lens in the middle, so I believe it's probably a camera. A camera? But it's so small! British technology is incredible, isn't it? I mean, what about Mr. Sholmes' skin prints? I think perhaps you should treat Mr. Sholmes' inventions as exceptions to the rule. But anyway, why would the man be in a graveyard at night with a camera? I wonder. Perhaps he was trying to capture the moment a dead body came back as a ghost on film? We'll just borrow this for a little while, I think. Camera from around the neck of the waxwork we managed to spell special exhibit. By looking at the photographic plate inside the camera, we can see what picture was taken. What's a photographic plate? It's a piece of glass coated in a special emulsion that reacts to the light coming in through the lens. If we open the cover in the back of the camera, we should find it. Let's have a look. You should see yourself, Susato-san. Your eyes are shining. You really do like machinery, don't you? You missed one in your office. I know there's a spade there, or a shovel. I don't know if we need to have to talk about it. That's a large lamp the man's carrying. Or is it a lantern? It's not unlike a Japanese chokchin? Is that a chokchin or kochin? Paper lantern, actually, is it? A lamp, lantern, kochin. The point is, it casts very little lights to be walking alone in a graveyard at night with only this. Well, I certainly wouldn't do it, or couldn't. I'm not sure I'd visit graveyard at all, even in broad daylight, to be honest. What about the man's face? I can't see his face very well, can you? Perhaps if I just... Oh, do you think you should be manhandling the exhibits, Mr. Naruhodo? I'll put it back eventually as it was, don't worry. What on earth? How can... I don't believe it. A black monocle. Mr. Naruhodo, is it possible that this man is... Yes. This picture is different. It's Enoch Drebber. It's the color of his hair is different, but it's unmistakably him. Indeed it is. Mr. Sholmes. I'm going to need to get more water in a minute. The man is the subject of your present hunt, I believe. Yes, that's right. Just who is this man? Why is he here in this exhibit? Is this just as a question, is this investigation a two-parter? Or is it just the one? And why does the convict behind him have no head? The head was missing when the model was returned by the thief who stole it. What a surprise. So then the case isn't yet solved, is it? Did I not say so myself? Largely solved were my words, I believe. But I must locate the missing head to the suite, as Madam would say, or I'll be in grave trouble. A very hungry Iris still awaits my return to Baker Street, preferably with rations. Ugh. You only have this in the workshop left. Got it. Do you know something, though, about this... Something about this room is strange. Strange? What do you mean? Well, the displays in the House of Horrors are supposed to depict real events, are they not? Indeed they are, Mr. Zado. Do go on. And, as terrifying as they are, the scenes in the other exhibits are believable. But this one... This surely couldn't ever really have happened, could it? I think it's time I educated a little about the nature of the incidents involving the professor 10 years ago. Okay. If I'm going to do more talking, I'm going to need to get more water, so I'll be right back. I'll put this up, and I'll mute myself, so I'll be back in a few seconds. Just bear with me. See you in a bit. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. I was making sure everything's back up. My voice is showing up on there. Alright. Refresh, restream. There have been no drop frames, so it's been good so far. About the nature of the incidents involving the professor 10 years ago. The resurrecting convict. Owl. I believe I told you about the little professor yesterday. Did I not? He took the lives of 5 victims, every one being either a member of the aristocracy or royalty. All were attacked by an enormous hunting hound and had their throats ripped from their bodies. Oh gosh, an enormous hound? How awful. After taking the life of this 5th victim, the killer was apprehended. It was a case of unprecedented magnitude in Britain, you'd understand. Accordingly, the professor was tried in a closed court. No member of public were permitted. A closed court? So you mean that the professor's identity... As you surmise, my dear fellow, his identity was never made public. And naturally, he was found guilty and was summarily sentenced to death by hanging. He was buried in a grave at Lowgate Cemetery, which adjoins the rear of the prison where he had been held. However, that was not the end of the affair. Oh. The very night that he was buried, the convicted man came back to life. Came back to life? He clawed his way out of the ground and emerged into the moonlit graveyard. The exhibit here depicts the very scene as described by the sole witness to those chilling events. There was a witness? But of course, my dear fellow, it was none other than the young man in the white overcoat. Enoch Drebber. He saw it happen? Is he Frankenstein? Is that where we're going with this? So this is a waxwork model of Enoch Drebber. 10 years ago, the convicted professor had been gibbeted and buried emerged from the grave on the dead of night. The sole witness to the unimaginable scene was this young man. From appearances, they would say he was about 20 years old. It's so horrifying. Scared out of his wits, the young Drebber ran into a nearby police station to report the incident. And the sheer terror of what he'd seen is said to have turned his hair white overnight. Yes, as shown in the photograph we have of him. His hair is completely white. For the following few days, the story of what he'd seen was on every front page in the capital. The public was frantic for every last detail about the killer who'd come back to life. As you've seen, an exhibit was even created here at Madame Two-Spells. I can quite understand why the man's hair turned white, certainly. But what I don't understand is what Mr. Drebber was doing in the first place, in a lonely graveyard in the middle of the night. Yes, what was he up to? He was going to dig up some more bodies and make a Frankenstein's monster. The professor's act of terror threw London's upper classes into complete panic 10 years ago. It was a great scandal, one might say, at the very highest levels of society. And since the killer's identity was never made public, rumors abounded. After all, no killer had ever before systematically employed a dog as a weapon of murder. Yes, I can imagine the impact the case must have had. But in time, of course, the rumors abated. So too did talk of the shocking witness's account of the convict who came back to life. It was forgotten, dismissed as a dubious ghost story, as preposterous parlor tales. But why did people stop believing it? Why? Simply because there was no resurrection to speak of, as we established in fact. What do you mean by no resurrection? The police investigated the grave in the Lowgate Cemetery and published their findings. The convict's body was found to be buried exactly where it had been following the execution. No, but that would mean Mr. Drebber must have lied to the police and the newspapers for some reason. And that would appear to be the only logical explanation, yes. The young man subsequently vanished from society and nothing has been heard of him since. It is rather striking, then, that he should resurface now, don't you think? Of course the convicted murderer couldn't really have come back to life. That's not possible. But Drebber's hair is unusually white, and if that really did happen overnight as a result of shock, which I think is kind of an actual thing, but it doesn't happen instantly like that. It's hard to believe the incident was an out-and-out lie. Ah! What the bleeding Nora Otto? What you got yourself? What you got? Blah. What have you gone done in here? Gina, what are you doing here? I asked Iris and she said this is where you'd be, so... Gina, not so loud in the museum. Madame Tuspels will have you take position as a waxwork if you're not careful. I think there might be a more pressing concern. I still had some flash powder left from 6 months ago, so... Alright, Gina, we understand. But please, put down the gun. Put the gun down! Sorry, I got scared. You should try being the one on the other end of the barrel. So, what brings you here, Gina? What brings me here? What do you think? We found it. We found the Dodgy Coast workshop. What? You found Drebber's workshop? Yep, Toby's nose took me straight there. The boss and the others are heading over there now in a drag, so come on. Here's the address. I got the boss to write it down. Oh, thank you, Gina. We'll make our way there at once. All right, then. See you there. You go. Don't mind me. I'll just stay here, being still. What? I know my place. In the exhibit over there. Oh dear. Someone is feeling sorry for himself. Let's go, Mr. Sholmes. You're coming. Your words hearten me, I must say. But if I were to shirk my duties here, Madame would have to pay my monetary recompense, and Iris's dinner plate would be there. Forget that. I'll pay for everything. And then there's not a moment to lose, my dear fellow. I shall hail a carriage at once. No offer to share the cost for Mr. Sholmes, then. I shall gladly pay half, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you, Mr. Zato. Right, let's go. Ah, it's the machine again. Enoch Drebber's workshop. There's a trophy. That looks like... Oh, it's another super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Do we have to say the full name? Indeed, it would appear so, though only a prototype naturally. Ah, so you got here then. Gina, well done for finding this place. And in such little time, you really worked your miracles. It's Toby here who's the miracle worker. Good dog. Good dog. I thought you lot would show up before long. What's he doing with his face? Hello, Inspector. That's one knitted brow. Looks like he's eating a lemon, not a bag of fish and chips. So, Inspector, is there any sign of the engineer? Sadly not. We didn't find a soul in here. Oh, what a shame. Well, thank you for letting us know about this place and giving us the chance to investigate. According to what Gina tells me, we only found it thanks to a clue that you lot turned up. I wouldn't want to say, go to Paris without debt with the gratitude unpaid now, would I? Thank you. Anyway, if you're hoping to snoop around in here, I'd get tracking. Old forensics and the forensic investigation team are on their way here as we speak. Them again. I imagine you got the picture by now. They don't take too kindly to lawyer types. Right. So then, my dear fellow, let's turn this place upside down whilst we have the chance. And you, Mr. Sholmes. Pardon? They take even less kindly to great detectives than they do to lawyers. Very droll, Gregson, very droll. And you may consider me nothing more than an inconspicuous waxwork model. Is he be hanging from the ceiling? Alright, let's see what we can find here. I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, that machine is covered by the special dispensations for scientific rigor and blah blah blah. There would be serious repercussions if you tried to examine it from the Crown and the government. And yet those two can. Well, those two don't seem to be holding back. It's quite hollow inside. No working parts or devices of deception to be seen here, my dear fellow. No loose change ducts on the floor, nothing. Not even a bone for Toby here, my dear fella. It's copying her. Or she's copying him. British people are very much ruled by their own ideals, aren't they? I think that's just these two, Mr. Shazaro. Arrow? This is... It's a European-style quiver of arrows, with a steel bolt inside. Oh, do you suppose? Crossbow bolts these. And just the right size of the bow you toned up at the exhibition grounds. In other words... Yep, that's more evidence to support your theory, Sunshine. It all goes to show that Trevor was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes of the whole scam. Woo! Ah, this appears to be most interesting. Yes, most interesting indeed, would you say? It's an impressive-looking back massager, that's for sure. I've no doubt that if you hit your shoulders a few times with that, your aches and pains would soon go away. It's a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science. A young scientist could wish for no higher honor. Would you like a massage? No, I'm fine. Thank you. I had no idea it was such a grand thing. I think it's becoming increasingly clear that there's much more to this Mr. Enoch Drebber than conjuring tricks. I couldn't agree more, my dear madam. And how about you, Mr. Naruhodo? Would you like to take it with you? For your tried shoulders, of course, or tired. He's not going to let that go, is he? It's curious, though, isn't it? You would expect such an important trophy to be proudly on display here, not haphazardly cast aside. English gentlemen can be quite a mystery at times. Science trophy has been entered in the court record. Is that a gun? An airplane? What on earth is this? An aeroplane, Mr. Naruhodo. One day, scientists believe it will allow humans to fly freely in the skies. Is that how the trick will be described, is it? Sorry? Well, it's actually suspended by a thin but very strong cable, isn't it? Oh, well, this model is, yes, but a real aeroplane would actually fly in the sky. While suspended from somewhere even higher in the sky, of course. Because large metal objects obviously can't really stay in the mid-air unsupported. So, to you, the solution is ever taller towers. There's a ladder! This door doesn't want to open. Yeah, looks like you got a pretty hefty lock on it. A specialist locksmith's on his way from the yard, so hands off it till we get you. With permission, Inspector. I could have that lock open in less than a minute. Well, you don't have permission. And no one's given it to you. Haha. Grayson looked as though he really enjoyed that. Well, there's no sound or anybody on the other side. No, Mr. Drebber must have fled the first sign of danger. Oh. Is something wrong, Miss Susato? Well, I thought I heard a noise from the far side of that door. Well, Gina, did you hear it too? Yeah, I heard it and all. What do you reckon, Toby? Right, mind the grease. Whoever's in there, open up. This is Scotland Yard. Oh my, someone is in there. And they ran. Ugh, this rotten bleeding lock. My dear Gregson, as I said only a minute ago. If only it were countenanced. I could unlock that door in less than a minute. Fine. I'll take the rap for it. Just get us through that blasted door. There! You may enter at will. You confused minutes with seconds, I think. Time is the essence, I feel. What are you waiting for? Nothing for it, I suppose. It's an emergency. There's a strong possibility that beyond this door is the engineer you all seek. Be prepared for action, my dear fellow. Yes. Oh. There's a bomb. What's happened in here? Why is everything upside down? Rats, there ain't no one here after all. But there must be. It's only 5 moments ago that we heard noises. Maybe that was the sound of Drebber running away. But there's only one door into this room. And no windows that could afford an escape route. Those skylights are too high. What's that up there? Are they footprints on the ceiling? Blow me, what have we got here then? Looks like someone's trying to burn something in a hurry. Oh, that looks like a set of blueprints. To what? That's Professor Hairbomber machine, isn't it? Blimey! If we had these, there'd be no need to muck about trying to investigate all that scrap metal. There is something of great interest here, too. Rope. This rope was lying on the floor at the foot of that pillar. A rope? What's significant about that? Never mind. You see, but you do not observe, Mr. Naruhodo. We must investigate the entire room thoroughly, and before the forensic investigation teams arrive too. Time to look at things. That's a really lovely model. Looks just like a real flying balloon. I think it's probably staying aloft on the same principles as a full-size balloon using gas. A green flying balloon. It does have the hallmarks of that amazing deception at the Great Exhibition, doesn't it? Could it be that the whole thing was planned here in this very workshop? There's no denying it, is there? That's footprints. Yes, it would appear so. And I simply can't imagine how they came to be up there. Isn't there a Susato shoot-up or something? Like a Susato takedown, I mean? I'm no Wonder Woman, Mr. Naruhodo. What? That would make her an almost superhuman, I suppose. They wouldn't know what Wonder Woman is, though, would they? Because Wonder Woman didn't exist until the 1960s or 40s. But maybe the term existed back then? I don't know. Someone get on that. Look on the Google or something. Almost every piece of furniture is upside down. Even Mr. Shome Sweet isn't ever this much of a mess. You're in no position to comment on mess, Mr. Naruhodo. But I suppose it's not quite the same thing, is it? I mean, it's not messy in here per se, it's just that everything is literally upside down. But why? Maybe because everything used to be upside down? Like everything used to be up here. This whole room could rotate. Wonder Woman was already a term? Okay. That's a very large safe. I don't even suppose Mr. Sholmes could open that lock. Although, if you were a thief, you could just steal the entire thing, I suppose. Yeah, and then you'd have a big safe you can't open. It's bolted to the floor to prevent exactly that sort of handed trick, Mr. Naruhodo. Well then, you could just steal the floor as well, I suppose? I'm sorry, but you really aren't making any sense at all. Anyway, I think we can agree that whatever is inside must be very important. Is that a bow? I think I've looked at everything that I can, other than just the obvious. Mr. Sholmes, have you found something? Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, in point of fact, something rather fascinating. What do you make of this? Let me see. I've never seen anything like it before. It looks like a bundle of thick cigars racked up in a large book. Mr. Zato, what's the matter? That's a... Surely that's a time bomb, isn't it? What? Did you just say? A time bomb? Sorry, but... What is a time bomb, exactly? Eh? You truly are one of a kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I won't take that as a compliment. You don't know nothing, do you, Otto? You haven't got a clue what it is either, have you, Gina? I invite you to consult a dictionary later, Mr. Naruhodo. But this particular specimen is no time bomb, though I confess it was a very similar appearance. Oh, well, goodness, thank goodness. But then what is it? I see, so that's it. Oh goodness, Mr. Sholmes, have you seen to the heart of the matter? There are times when I consider my lot most unfair, for I'm fated never to know how it feels to flounder as you do when a puzzle presents itself. But I have learned to accept the hardships that come with being a great detective, Mr. Zato. Here we go. I feel a great deduction coming on. Once again, I can draw two conclusions from the scene we see before us. The first is that the inverted nature of the furniture in this room is the work of Drebber himself. Oh, but how could you... And the second conclusion is that the small device on the floor there is, without question, completely genuine. But Mr. Sholmes, you must explain everything. It would be my pleasure. After all, it is a great detective's civic duty to teach Scotland Yard the finer points of the trade. Well, Inspector Gregson seems delighted with the idea anyway. Oh, you deflected the inspector's glare with such fortitude there, Mr. Sholmes. Well done. You're too kind, my dear madam. I hereby dedicate this great deduction to you. Kindly stand just there, Mr. Zato. Oh, yes. I'd be delighted. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Here we go. The Great Deduction. The game is afoot. Flipped furniture. It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the table, and the chairs, and the lamp. Everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had until recently been happily positioned on the ceiling, but before falling straight down to the floor. Every item in the room was on the ceiling? Are you suggesting that... Indeed, the key here is gravity. Oh, everything's going up. He's got magic. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the Earth. For the gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality. Oh, goodness. I just noticed this right on the bottom of that chair. The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. I quite understand your skepticism, Miss Salzano, so I too was incredulous at first. However, my conviction in my analysis was cemented when I observed this. An anti-gravity device, almost identical to the one that is featured in a dream of mine only the other day, in fact. But then why does it have a clock on it? A most relevant question indeed. That is a timing device for that controls when the gravity direction will switch. There was clearly a requirement for the engineer to be able to restore normal gravity automatically. And the commotion we heard earlier from the other side of the door was the movement that restoration occurred. Yes, the reason why everything in here was turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. So you see, we need look no further to explain the state in which we find this room. Literally the exact walk Adio does in the opening, yeah. The direction which gravity acts is where here was reversed by Mr. Drebber, before having been restored to normality in an automatic fashion sometime later by the timer device. I have witnessed precisely this scene in a dream I once had when I fell out of bed. That's a great way of explaining it. I saw this in a dream, so it must be true. Missing engineer. Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads. Yes, how is it possible there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling? A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason for which there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Of course, Drebber's aim was singular, to escape. However, there is but one way into this room. Accepting the skylight, that is. Whee! Look at him go! By inverting the gravity in here, Mr. Drebber was able to fall conveniently onto the ceiling and make his escape with the otherwise inaccessible skylight, leaving those footprints behind on the way. But the ceiling in here is very high, Mr. Sholmes. Is the gravity reversal was sudden when Mr. Drebber had fallen up into the ceiling rather violently? Falling is both scientifically and philosophically a rather interesting concept, I feel. But the man was cornered with nowhere to run, so escape through the skylight was his only option. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than a rope? By anchoring one end to the wall, the man was able to lower himself safely to the ceiling. Which explains how Drebber was able to escape this room before our arrival. He reversed the pull of gravity and fled via the skylight. And personally, I should very much like to reverse the pull of gravity again now, just for fun. Oh yeah, it's scientifically impossible to transpose someone, but reversing gravity? Yeah, that makes sense. That's real. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. She's completely spellbound. Mr. Sholmes, there is just one thing that troubles me. I would expect nothing less. You're destined to be troubled by just one thing for the rest of your life. The thing is such a thing actually possible? An anti-gravity device, I mean? I would say that with man's current scientific knowledge at the turn of the 20th century, it's no more possible than instantaneous kinesis. So he just proves his whole thing then. But your whole deduction hinges on it. Ah, but my dear fellow, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. however improbable it may seem. It's a marvelous line, would you agree? One of my more enduring pearls of wisdom. I had Iris come up with the exact phrasing. My original was clumsy. Yes, I have a feeling I've read it on something that Mr. Sadler lent me once.
Objection!
Well, actually, there is one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the spell's broken at last. The rope you found was on the floor, wasn't it? Indeed it was, in lonely coils near the wall. But if Mr. Drebber had used it to escape in the way that you described, wouldn't it still be tied into the wall? Mysteries inevitably unravel in the end, as I think you'll find with due ropes. As evidence as such, you need only look to the mystery we face in this room, now skillfully unraveled. That argument is as circular as the coils of rope. I think perhaps we might need to give Mr. Sholmes the usual little helping hand. I'm sure with some minor corrections, the great detective's great deduction will lead us to the truth. Yes, you're right. And we must do it quickly before Enoch Drebber gets too far away. If you're ready then, let us resume. Herlock Sholmes' logic reasoning spectacular. Ooh, hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Right, let's see. It's plain to see that this room is complete disarray. The bed, the table, the chairs, and the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had until recently been heavily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down to the floor. Every item in the room was on the ceiling? Are you suggesting that... Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of Earth. For the gravity in this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality. Oh goodness. The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth of the gravity played in the whole business. To think gravity could have been reversed in this very room, I find the whole idea utterly enthralling. Only Mr. Sholmes could conceive of such an explanation. But the man himself admitted it was a scientific impossibility, so... Yes, you're quite right. We must completely discount the idea at once. Oh, that's unusually merciless of you, Mr. Zado. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. The great detective himself said so, didn't he? While refusing to part with his dreams of anti-gravity devices. Yes, I suppose so. Well, let's see if examining this topsy-turvy scene a little more closely reveals some proof that shows exactly what the gravity in this room was or wasn't doing. Well, well, I wasn't expecting to find a pretty bunch of flowers in here, that's for sure. Look at that. I know. That slender little vase looks like it's about to topple at any moment, but the flowers are thriving. Somehow it makes you think of the fragility of life, wouldn't you say? And to be honest, Mr. Naruhodo, there's something else about it made a rather deep impression on me.
Take that!
It's the flowers! The upright vase clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in the whole business. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, you have surpassed yourself by completely turning my argument on its head. Trying to impress your assistant here, perhaps? No one is trying to steal your spotlight here, Mr. Sholmes. Trust me. As you rightly say, though it appears at first glance, that all furniture in the room is upside down. This is as unassuming slender vase is standing keenly to attention. And unlike the large safer here, there's nothing affixing it to the floor. And it's the exception that breaks the rule. In short, much as it pains me, the gravity in this room was never inverted at all. My deepest sympathies for your loss. Oh, poor Mr. Sholmes. But the show must go on, so let us continue with our deduction. He had a mental breakdown, then when he immediately went back to work. And now that we know that this contrivance is not in fact an anti-gravity device, there remains but one possibility. You don't say. Someone deliberately turned over every piece of furniture in here. Which might sound obvious, but let's leave one mystery very much unsolved. Namely, why would anyone choose to do that? Quite, and naturally there is an explanation. Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. He's absolutely determined that this device must have something to do with it, isn't he? I'm afraid the lure of an exciting scientific explanation is too strong. Well, there's no doubt that somebody did this. Somebody turned all his furniture over. So whoever it must have been had a reason. I'm afraid nothing comes to mind at all, though. Well, let's look around and see if the answers present itself. I feel like any frame from this deduction could be a meme template. Yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty sure that at some point somewhere we put like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure like intro for the point where he slows down and starts walking. Look, there's something written on the other side of the armchair. Oh yes, safe. 432582. Safe. As in safe and secure? As in secure lockable box, I think. Admittedly more likely. Well, there's a large safe bolted to the floor on the other side of the room, so yes. So you mean this number would let us open it? I wonder why it's written here, though.
Take that!
I shatter your expectations, Sholmes. Yes, the reason why everything in here is turned upside down is because of the safe combination. Precisely! I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that you had a very similar experience once, did you not? Yes, last year. When I brought a lottery ticket and noted the number upside down on the inside cover of the book was just in case. That's it, for people who are forgetful of souls at heart, and always make a written note of important information. But just keeping the ticket itself would be more sensible, I think. And what, pray, happened next, Mr. Naruhodo? When the day of the drawing came around, I'd forgotten which book I'd written the number in and had to turn up my room upside down to find it. And that's it, for people who are forgetful souls at heart and always forget where they noted things down. Not if you always note things down in the same place. I actually won the second prize, you know. But I couldn't remember what magazine I slipped into the ticket to, so I had to turn my room up. Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe I've proved my point now. He just shuts the light off on him. Which is that very similar scenario has clearly unfolded in this room. Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed the combination code. He remembered that he's written it on the other side of the piece of furniture, but forgot which one. Leading to the state in which we find the room. Yes, Mr. Trevor overturned all the furniture in here, in a desperate hurry to locate the combination code that would unlock the safe. Yeah! It's number 1 done. I wonder if this changes anything in Topic 2. Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer's friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads. Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling? A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madam. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Well, if a change in the direction of gravity can't explain it, then how did those footprints get there? Yes, I feel as though that particular mystery has just become even harder to solve. I can't think of any other way to explain it all. Ooh, life is so much simpler in those halcyon days when gravity could be reversed. It was minutes ago, and those halcyon days never existed in the first place. Well, I suppose we must simply put our faith in Mr. Sholmes and observe the area in more detail. Putting our faith in Mr. Sholmes is what gets us into these situations in the first place. A shoe! It's hard to believe, but there's a shoe up here, look! Oh yes, and there are more footprints on this side of the balloon too. Perhaps the shoe was thrown up there and became dislodged, do you think? So, then judging from the number of footprints, it must have been thrown up several times. Why would anyone be throwing shoes up at the ceiling, though? Oh dear, that's beyond me, I'm afraid. Well,
Take that!
I'm sorry to say that these are not footprints, they are just shoe prints from Wang's shoe being thrown. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby shoe. And on the closer inspection, there's clearly footprints all over the balloon as well. In other words, the aim was never the skylight at all, but the balloon. But for what purpose? A green balloon? This seems somewhat familiar, Data. It was a piece of Green Balloon's envelope that Mr. Naruto and Iris found at the scene. And inside the green balloon was that Master Gotts claimed he saw above the stage when the incident occurred. Was the second birdcage, the crux of the whole instantaneous kinesis deception. You mean to say, if we are to assume the balloon in there is a model than the one they used in the day, there is a strong possibility that somebody or something may be concealed inside it. Something our Astana was desperate to retrieve before making a hasty getaway. But the balloon's out of reach. Hence why he resorted to a projectile, namely the shoe. Most probably, Drebber intended to tear a hole in the envelope by ensailing it with the shoe. However, his efforts were thwarted when the shoe itself became a prisoner of those lofty heights. Oh dear, we desperately need to examine that balloon. If only there was some way we could see inside. You may recall that we found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? Mr. Sholmes has managed to bring the abduction back to the rope. Alright, I have to admit it, that was clever. So we just throw the rope up to the balloon and then pull it down to us on the ground? Which is much easier said than done, I feel. And it could take us a very long time as well. True, perhaps we need more surefire methods. In fact, we already have one, of course, don't we? A gun! Oh, whoops.
Take that!
I have not actually used something from my inventory before in one of these. That's cool. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than the crossbow? That was found at the scene, in fact. And in all likelihood belongs to Mr. Drebber. If the man had only brought it away with him that day, he could have avoided losing a shoe at such critical times as this. Bring it down! So, shall we? Your curiosity is deeply stirred, no doubt, my dear fellows. What is it that Enoch Drebber was hidden inside that balloon? Ahead. Ah! What the? A waxwork? Indeed it is! A waxwork head inside a metal mask. A mask that is shut tight and fastened with a strong and quite impenetrable lock. So we can't see the face inside. That means... Just a moment. This is the head of a waxwork model. Does that mean... Oh, goodness. I see you've joined the dots, Mr. Zado. Excellent. Of course. A headless waxwork model. The case of the abducted Madame Tuspel's model that was largely unsolved. Or solved. It was the only head of the killer that was missing. Indeed it was. But I believe Madame Tuspel's will now have to settle her sizable account with me. So, you've just paid me twice. This, as you've no doubt surmised, is the head of the infamous Professor. Yes. But why is it here? This conclusively confirms my suspicions. The man responsible for stealing the Professor from the Madame Tuspel's and returning it sans tete earlier today was none other than Enoch Drebber. This is incredible. Professor Hairbrain's case and the waxwork abduction they're inextricably linked by Enoch Drebber's workshop. Woo! Well, it appears our logical pleasure cruise has come to an end, my dear fellows. All that remains is, yes, to speak with the architect of this adventure. The architect? You mean Mr. Trevor? The music's changed, and it seems quite impossible that he escaped via one of the skylights. Obviously, the man must still be here in the room. What? And his location should be abundantly clear. If you simply reflect on the journey you've made this far during the introduction. Enoch Trevor is right here, somewhere in this room. So, Mr. Naruhodo, will you do the honors? Yes, of course. Mr. Trevor's hiding place must be the... Look at all this mess in front of the safe. Yes, plans and accounting ledgers. Almost as if somebody was in a hurry to empty the contents of the safe, in fact.
Take that!
Before we gained access to this back room, we heard noises coming from in here. Which tells us that the engineer was still in the building at that point in time. He was, in fact, searching for the combination to his safe. He must be running out of oxygen if that's the case. And pressed for time, made no attempt to right the furniture that he overturned in the process. From which we can deduce that his search for the combination happened very recently indeed. In summary, Mr. Enoch Trevor is at this very moment inside the safe. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. Inside the safe. Deduction complete. Elementary. Woo! So, Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps it's time we ended this game of hide-and-seek, don't you? By opening the safe, you mean? What else? Well, let's see. The combination was 1432582. I knew that. All right, then, here goes. Hi. You have a robot hand? You found me. What is he doing? He's also wearing similar things to the Mortician, isn't he? Right then, sir, Mr. Enoch Trevor, I presume. Correct. You better start talking. You tripped Professor Hairbrain with that bogus machine you built. And you shall have to explain the theft of waxwork from added to spells as well. Whilst I would be delighted to answer your many questions. He's a robot. Personally, I would advise as you deactivate my little parcel first. Deactivate? Your parcel? I refer, of course, to the time bomb. Left most prominent position. I see. Stunned silence. You're all gearing up to die with me, then. No! Mr. Sholmes, we've only seconds to spare. That was too close to comfort. We've got one foot in the grave already. Are you trying to get us killed? Get us a killer who'll get us killed. Mr. Sholmes' deductions can be completely life-altering, can't they? Well, my dear fellows, that was a close shave. The resemblance to an anti-gravity device is really quite startling, I must say. It doesn't... How would you even know what that looks like? Anti-gravity devices don't exist. Phew, I wouldn't push it, Mr. Sholmes. What on earth happened in here? You've found me, haven't you? No need to screw me around any further. Everything in here is precisely what it seems. Yeah, well, we'll give it a thorough going over. Don't you worry, Drebber. What fails to click with me is how you were able to locate my workshop that I was not expecting. When I heard whistling from the other room, I knew it was time to bolt. Whistling? That would have been me. Oh. For some reason, I woke in a fine fettle today. No words, just tightly squeezed chips. Clearly I must have a screw loose though, as I couldn't remember the combination of the safe. And another one loose, as I couldn't remember on which piece of furniture I had written it down. But also found a rope over by the wall. Yes, I had hoped to exit through the skylight, but sadly the rope was too short. So, then I set about searching for the combination code to open the safe. And burning the incriminating blueprints, don't forget! Regrettably, though, you failed to retrieve the head from the balloon along the rafters. And after that, you hid yourself inside the safe? Having first set this parcel taking. Well, I had no intention of being nailed by the police. Got a death with, have you? Hiding right beside a ticking time bomb? Please, why do you suppose I chose to hide inside the safe? It is no ordinary safe. It's specially designed. A dynamite explosion wouldn't leave a scratch on it. So in fact, the safe was the only safe place. Precisely. But once you climbed inside, you wouldn't have been able to get out again. I invite you to look more closely. The safe is fitted with a handle on the inside to allow the door to be unlocked from within. So it is! I had always intended to blow this place to smithereens in any case. I just wasn't expecting uninvited guests to come along and screw up my plans. Do you mean to say you were planning to blow us all up? No, that was unforeseen. What do you mean? Most people run, you see, when they see a ticking time bomb at their feet. I've calculated the time required for retreat to a safe distance and set the device accordingly. But your seemingly endless discourse in here threw a spanner in my works. Everyone's just looking at Sholmes. Is something wrong, Gregson? Do I have something in my face besides the usual eyes, ears, nose, and mouth? I think we have a fairly good idea of what's been going on here now. But what about the two incidents you've evidently been involved in recently? Professor Harebrain's instantaneous kinesis experiment at the expedition. Or exhibition. Why do I keep calling it an expedition? And the waxwork model you stole, which this head belongs to. That's no ordinary head, you know. That's the head of the professor. Clad in a mask with a lock so strong, I'm unable to open it safely to reveal the killer's identity. I've been considering carrying it around as protection, after all. Oh, that's enough! Oh, it's you. What's going on here, Gregson? I'm sure you're aware that I have sole jurisdiction to this investigation, to investigate here. Yes, well... Dr. Scythe again. So the forensic investigation team are here. As you know full well, the engineer is a key witness. Why are you allowing this lawyer access to him? If Lord Strongheart knew of this, you'd be finished. You lot leave at once. My dear madam, there's no need for such threatening tone, I assure you. After all, that's no way to greet an old acquaintance, is it, Dr. Scythe? Hello, Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes knows Dr. Scythe? If it's protecting the machine next door that's causing such a sour expression on your face, you are quite misguided. It's really nothing more than a shell. You... get out. But of course, we'll show ourselves the door. I see you haven't softened at all. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? It would appear that our delightful entertaining investigations have run their course for today. But Mr. Sholmes... let us leave this place in the doctor's capable hands. I said get out. Now, all of you. Your presence here is not required either, Gregson. Understood. But I'll just say one thing before I head off. If it wasn't for this lawyer and his companions, we'd never have found this place, and the whole workshop would have blown to bits. There was a time bomb set in here, but this lot disarmed. Inspector. Something giving you a chuckle, has it, Drebber? Ah, so sorry. Didn't mean to offend. You are quite right, of course. You did disarm the time bomb, didn't you? Yes, you did disarm that one. Eh? What are you... that one? You mean... Uh-oh. Well, that messed up a lot of stuff. Goodbye, policeman. It was an hour later that we heard the news of the enormous explosion that ripped through the experimentation stage at the Great Exhibition. Professor Harebrain's invention and all its secrets were blown away forever. Damn you! What's your name again? Drebber? To be continued. Ah, yes. Save. Return of the Great Departed Soul. Trial Part 3. I'll save again. And that is where we will finish for today. Whew. I have to say, trying to play this when you're very tired, hadn't slept at all the previous night, is a lot of work when you have to try and put, you know, effort and emotion and, like, energy into what you're saying. Like, again, at times I was, like, trying to stay focused, but every single time my, like, body would just suddenly go, ugh, I'm tired. So, you know, not the best, but we did it. We got some stuff done. We still got some more stuff to do. We shall pick this up on Thursday, I believe. Now, depending on how I am tomorrow, I may or may not stream. I will say for now that I will. I'm hoping that tonight I get to sleep normally. Because last night was just, it was awful. And I'm hoping tonight will be better. Because, you know, being too tired to stay up, and then my body just like, okay, fine, you can sleep. But we shall see. I will say that streaming this was actually a little bit uplifting, you know, getting a bit of normality back again outside of, you know, whatever else is going on. But it was appreciated. But I appreciate you all for being here today. I hope everyone enjoyed. I'll be back tomorrow with Death Stranding, hopefully. Like I said, I'll let you guys know if there isn't going to be a stream on Twitter. And on Thursday, I'll be back with this. Hopefully. But until then, y'all take care. Have a nice rest of the day. As usual, if you haven't already, like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when I'm next stream. If you want support music to Patreon and tips, they do help a lot, especially Patreon. Especially lately. They would be greatly appreciated if you could support me there. If you can't, then it's totally understandable. It's just, you know, I don't get it through YouTube or Twitch at the moment, so yeah. But as I was saying, if you do become a patron, you get your name entered to the patron list here, where I give you a shout out of every stream, like I do with Hiroru Kuni, the Soulmaster 37, and Refachon 2000. I thank you for the continued support. I greatly appreciate you all. And yeah, we go around trying not to get everything blown up and miss one bomb. But yeah, thanks a lot for joining me today, guys. I appreciate it. I'll see you either tomorrow or Thursday. Y'all take care. Have a nice rest of the day. And hopefully when you next see me, I'll be a little bit better. But until next time, y'all take care. Bye, Raphashawn. Bye, Balaroth. Bye, Swordmaster. Thanks for joining. See you next time. Bye-bye.